What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the UFC pre-fight prediction, breakdown, analysis, whatever, for the upcoming free card this weekend. Absolutely free. Yes, I said it. You heard correctly. And it is going to be a fantastic card in Mexico City Arena, Mexico City, Mexico. We have a newcomer, a Russian newcomer, undefeated 10-0, Askarov, going up against tough hitter Mexican Brandon Moreno. If you're going to miss the beginning of the main card, I advise not to do that. But one thing for sure, make sure you have your cable ready to go for this third fight on the card, because it is going to be absolutely outstanding with two huge sluggers and one, obviously, Askarov, first fight in the UFC. He's going to have a flame under his ass. He's going to be ready to go. Brandon Moreno is fighting on home soil. He is already a UFC vet. His last fight not being in the UFC was Legacy Fighting Alliance, but nonetheless, with the TKO, Dana White said, you know what, you can come on back and fight in the UFC. Why he got kicked out of the UFC in the first place is beyond me. He was 3-2 in his 5 outings. The only guys he lost to were top prospects like Sergio Pettis and Alexander Pantoja, and PS, they were both via decision. Now this is going to be an absolute slugfest, but Askarov, is his resume going to be enough? Does he have enough experience fighting top contenders? Is it going to help him in this fight in the UFC, his first fight in the UFC on enemy territory against a guy who's already been in the UFC for 5 fights? I don't know. I think the UFC has a different kind of talent that these no-name organizations, more B-rated organizations, no disrespect, have to offer. And I just think Brandon Moreno is too tenured fighting under these big octagon spotlights that he's not going to let Askarov's undefeated record phase him whatsoever. Ryan Bennett, Dustin Ortiz, and Louis Smolka. These are all fighters that Brandon Moreno has faced off against and beat successfully. So I don't think Askarov is really going to bring too much to the table here. When he watches fights, it's clear as day that the guy has heart and he loves to bang. But his striking isn't the cleanest that I've ever seen. And not to mention, he isn't the biggest guy for the division either, where I think Brandon Moreno has that advantage. He is the bigger fighter here, more tenured, like I said, and I just think he packs more of a punch. He has more tools to bring to this game. Askarov is not that bad on the ground. He's got a lot of wrestling background, but these guys love to go in there and bang, and he's proved it in all of his 10 outings. Yes, he is 10-0, but nonetheless, like I said, hasn't faced the UFC roster, or at least the caliber style that Brandon Moreno has faced. I think they're going to go in, square off, and mark my words, I think it is going to be a really exciting fight, but I think Brandon Moreno is just going to get the best of him. He's a bigger guy, and by opinion, he's faster, and I do think he packs more of a punch. Is he going to finish Askar? I don't believe he will, but I do believe he will significantly outpoint him to leave no doubt in the judge's mind, but to give the nod to Brandon Moreno. Now we're going to go to the co-main event with an amazing female matchup with the first ever strawweight champion in the female category. We're talking about Carla Esparza, and she is going up against a very, very tough fighter in Alexa Grasso. Now, Alexa Grasso is fighting on home soil again. So Carla Esparza is going to be in enemy territory. Is she going to be able to withstand this Alexa Grasso crowd and the tenacity that Alexa Grasso brings? If you look at her highlights from Invicta FC all the way to the UFC and prior to Invicta FC, she has amazing stand-up capabilities. So mark my words, she's going to want to keep this standing on her feet. Not just because Carla Esparza is kind of like no good whatsoever on her feet, but that's because Alexa Grasso can absolutely shine there, and she has proven to over and over again in her previous outings, especially her last one when she had a very dominant decision victory against Carolina Kalakowicz. Man, that's a tough name. Where Carla's last opponent is one that people haven't even heard of in the division. The interesting thing about this fight is they're both on a 1-fight win streak, and prior to that, literally right before that, they both succumbed a loss to the very same individual and Tatiana Suarez. Submission loss for Alexa Grasso and TKO loss to Carla Esparza. These are two completely different style fighters. Carla Esparza has amazing IQ when it comes to wrestling and grappling, but she has to get a hold of Alexa Grasso to do that. Alexa Grasso loves to utilize her leg kicks, so that's obviously the main target for Carla Esparza, is wait for one of those kicks to come in, grab a hold of it, and take it to the ground. So Alexa Grasso has got to use her long reach here, use her distance, keep that distance, and make sure Carla Esparza doesn't come in to get a hold of her, And if she does, get ready with that uppercut or that knee and really shock Carla Esparza when she comes in for that takedown. I think this is going to be too much for Carla Esparza. I think that she is going to fall once again back down the ladder, and I can see her getting TKO'd here with that Mexican crowd behind Alexa Grasso, and literally none of that crowd, in my opinion, going to be on board with Carla Esparza. I just see Carla Esparza not standing a chance here, really getting emotional, maybe sloppy with her striking and her takedown attempts as she gets fatigued, and I could see her in late round 2 getting TKO'd, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen. Now when we go to the main event, we are promised an absolute banger. Mark my words, a promise is a promise. We have one punch knockout king, little heathen Jeremy Stephens, is looking to get back on a win streak against one of the most unorthodox, craziest strikers in the UFC roster, period, and we are talking about Yair Rodriguez. Jeremy Stephens is looking to jump back in that win column with 2 back-to-back losses that he has just succumbed against Zabit Magomedsharipov and the previous featherweight king in Jose Aldo, where Yair Rodriguez is coming off of one of the biggest highlight knockouts ever and going to be remembered for history to come for the UFC when he gave a reverse upward elbow to Chan Sung Jung's jaw and put him out cold. Yair Rodriguez is looking to continue this win streak against another heavy hitter, obviously in Jeremy Stephens, but Jeremy Stephens is not uncomfortable with having these previous setbacks. He's faced them before in his career, and each time he comes back bigger, better, and stronger. This is going to be a really interesting fight because Yair Rodriguez, to the naked eye, might have a longer reach, but in fact their reaches are the same at 71 inches, but what he does have is a longer reach in his legs. He's able to utilize those techniques where Jeremy Stephens doesn't really have leg kick game whatsoever. We know he's going to get in there and want to catch Yair Rodriguez off guards. He's going to want to get in there close and take Yair's head off. Yair's goal here is to keep the distance. He doesn't want to make this a dirty boxing fight because that is where I think we are going to test jaw versus jaw, power versus power. And jaw, Jeremy Stephens for sure, checkmate. And the one punch power, I'm going to say it's check over Yair Rodriguez too. There's no denying that he has more power and a better chin, but he doesn't have a bigger skill set. And that's where Yair Rodriguez is really going to have to be calm here, really trying to take the emotion out of this fight and just play it smart and use his different strikes to keep the reach. And then when you smell blood, go in for the kill. But I think those legs should be the key to victory here. Really kick those knees, do those John Jones-esque style kicks to the knees. Keep Jeremy Stephens at bay so he cannot utilize his power to throw one of those big hooks and catch you off guard, because if he catches you, you're going to sleep. I think Yair Rodriguez is playing this fight safe and very smart, and I can see him coming out with the victory here. I think it is going to go to the 3rd round, maybe early 4th round, when Jeremy Stephens starts to slow down and Yair Rodriguez is going to catch him off guard. And I'm just foreshadowing here, but because of the many leg kicks that Jeremy Stephens is going to receive throughout this bout, I think he's not going to be able to defend well. He's going to get fatigued and not really be able to use the power from his legs because his legs are going to be wrecked. And that's where Yair Rodriguez is going to throw one of his fancy kicks or maybe one of those spinning elbows again and knock TKO probably Jeremy Stephens out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is going to be an amazing fight. Listen, the string of events the UFC has had back to back, and they're all free, have been nothing short of outstanding. Just because there's not a pay-per-view number beside it, just because there's not a price tag beside it, doesn't mean it's going to be boring. These are both top contenders and both ones to watch in their UFC future. And obviously Jeremy Stephens having one of the most fights in the UFC, period. We already know who this guy is. Mark my words, this is going to be a fight for the books. Thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. I don't care if it's negative or comment, to be honest, it doesn't matter. Just engage. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we are going to see you guys next week. Peace out.